All right, here's the Nakamichi RX-505 in daylight. These things don't film well in the dark just because they're black, and they don't even film well in the daylight because of dust and stuff and everything. They just, I don't know. I did dust it and everything. It was quite clean. So you have the what they call the UDAR RX-505 tape deck, which UDAR stands for Unidirectional Auto Reverse, which is differing technology than they employed with the Dragon, which was cost prohibitive and actually very complex, so it was prone to failure. So this is actually a much simpler way of maintaining azimuth on the heads by rotating the tape like you would in a normal one-directional player, but giving you sort of the mechanism to pull it out, flip it around, and keep and maintain that accurate azimuth on the tape heads without flipping the heads, which can get you into all kinds of problems with azimuth error or angle error. As far as the bias settings, I think you were interested in the bias capabilities of the deck. You do have three preset biases. So you have type 1, type 2, type 4. They just call it EX, SX, and ZX. So type 1 is normal bias, type 2 is chrome, and type 4 is metal. And those are fixed biases for those types of formulations of tape. And then you also have this bias tune down here. So it does allow you the comfort of being able to trim the bias to your liking. So if you find that the preset values are a little hot or a little dull, you can play with the bias tune and dial it into your heart's content. So it does give you some sort of great recording capability if you've got that kind of an ear. I don't have that kind of an ear, so I just leave it flat at 12 o'clock in the notch and just pick the appropriate tape selectors. Your record levels here, left and right channel, output level, it should always be max, but I kind of just dial it to about 3 o'clock. That way it's not just sending everything out to the preamp. The preamp here is tunable, so I actually have settings up here that I can because it's either in my disc, well, disc is a turntable, or I can use my tape loops and I can tune those, or I can just use the CD input, which is tunable on the module that goes in there. So that's why I just kind of go to 9 o'clock, so I'm not feeding it completely hot, full output to the preamp. These were actually built to go full out, but no worries. What do we got for controls here? We've got the tape and source control here. So when it's depressed, you can actually see my source is playing there. And then basically you're listening to the source material that you're trying to record. So whether it's a turntable, in this case it's my Cambridge Audio Stream Magic 6 version 2, which is playing off of my network attached storage in the basement through my Wi-Fi network in the house, and basically it's streaming FLAC music from backed up hard drives downstairs. So you're looking at CD quality tunes here. I don't have, unfortunately, a turntable up in my living room here. Wife won't allow it, and that happens to be where the tape deck resides, because when we have company, I put it on and we let it play, and it just flips around, and it's great for visiting. Kind of like a reel-to-reel, but not the bulk. So that's what I like most about it, I guess. So that's why I like the auto reverse here, and I keep the single direction players up in my man cave. So that's my source right now. I'm gonna just back it up here because I want to be able to do a test demo. The other controls we have here, everything on the case is in exceptional condition. When I got it, the previous owner obviously took really good care of it. So there's no major dings or anything like that. All the buttons are intact. There's no loose knobs or anything like that. Everything is as it should be, right, when you get it from from the factory, I guess. No major dings, a little bit of dust, but that's what black does, is it shows dust and everything. Even the top is in really, really good nick. I got rubber feet, so I'm not dragging things on it. Tried to give it a little dust, but you can never get all the dust off of black stuff, I find. All of the controls work really well. So there's your reverse, very fast, very responsive. Your eject, not noisy. That was the part that was actually fixed on this. It had the sticky grease problem, which is consistent with all of the old Nakamichis, even the Dragons. If you don't play them and then you let them sit for too long, then the grease dries up and cap stands start to stick and all of that kind of stuff. So this has all been gone through and is now working very well. So, and then also when you put the tape in, it gets past the leader a little bit. It just does a quick little rewind, puts tension on the tape. You got a whole myriad of controls here. Program seek is kind of interesting. You can fast forward it and find the next gap in music, and it'll stop and play. That's when you have your skip on. Auto reverse, obviously, you can have it just play once, side A, side B, and then stop, or have it just play one-sided, or just a continuous loop, which I normally have it set on. And timer, in case you want to record a record, an FM station or something like that, you can set it to click on at a certain time and then start recording. I don't think too many people do that anymore, but it does have the capability. Subsonic multiplex filters for recording off of turntables that have a lot of bass noise and stuff like that. I've got the volume dial. You can see the meters going, but I've got the volume on my preamp. That's why you're not hearing anything. So that's actually listening to the source, and I just paused it, so that's why the meters stopped. The counter works perfectly. You've got a memory and a play, so you can have it on play so it gets to 0 and starts playing or whatever. And then you have large and small real hubs or standard hubs, and auto fade, so you can actually, when you hit pause, I think it'll fade out the music and then pause, kind of thing. All the instructions in the manual of each of these controls is right there. Noise reduction, EQ for recording, you got to set it whether it's 70 microseconds is for chrome and metal, and 120 microseconds is normal bias. So I normally have it depressed into 70, and I normally have this depressed to chrome because that's what I use 90% of the time. You can have Dolby or noise reduction off or on. I always keep it on, and then you can select between Dolby B and Dolby C. So I normally, for home listening, I use Dolby C. If it's for taking to somebody's house, because I never know what kind of noise reduction they have, everybody has Dolby B, so I just use Dolby B for that. That's a rundown of all the controls. Everything works good, so I'm gonna let's do this. I had it in record there, so I'll record. I'm trying to rewind, and it's already rewound. So fast forward, you can hear the noise levels. Very quiet. Rewind. Stop. And then what we'll do is we'll put record on. We'll turn up the volume here. And push play. And then this is, so this is my levels here. I've got them sort of set where they're normally good, which is about just past noon on the, between noon and 1 o'clock, about halfway. And that gives me really good settings for, I'm going to back it up here a bit. We'll start. And let's hit, oh, it is recording. There we go. So there we go. Let's have a listen to this. So that's listening to the tape, and that's listening to the source. Oh. Again, I had it on CD, so we were actually just listening to the source. So, that's the tape. That's the source. So let's listen to the tape as it's being recorded. So now we're listening to the tape. through the quad 12L2s. Running into my ottoman here. Not an ideal setup because my wife won't allow me to set these up the way they should be, but it's a compromise. They're bass reflex speakers, the ports in the back of these speakers, so they're too close to the wall, contained in the shelf, but even then, they still don't sound too bad. You hear the highs are really crisp. So let's go back to the source. That's the source. Now we're listening to this directly. And now we're listening to the tape. And then we can go, oh, I did it wrong. Anyway, you got to look up the manual on how to use the auto fade and all that stuff. Anyway, so there you have it. Just a quick rundown of the Nakamichi RX-505. Really good deck. These things are finely honed machines. Anyway, if you have any questions or you want me to demo anything else, just let me know. Talk to you later. Bye.